So here's another video. And I want to tell you something personal about me and my experience with, and my opinion on this video, because I'm telling you that this is a similar situation that happened with me, right? And I'll tell you how I feel about myself and how I feel about this person, right? Okay, here, it's on a thing here.
Do you think
Okay,
this is modeling bad behavior for like really young people?
It's easy to go viral. You just have to make sure you're not going to get arrested.
We're not like telling other people to do it.
You say you want to inspire LGBTQ kids, right? And you want to inspire them how?
Well, basically, I want to build the platform first, and I don't think to do anything it takes to get there. But I just want to show people that there is someone out there like them, and you can kind of be crazy and still be LGBTQ and a good person.
Right.
Yeah.
And what do y'all's families think about you doing these stunts, these pranks?
Personally, mine don't love it, but it's not going to stop me because it's getting me somewhere, obviously.
Right. How about you?
I mean, I don't talk to my family.
Why not?
They're irrelevant.
They're irrelevant?
None of them have followers. If they got followers or got rich, I'd probably talk to them again.
Now, hang on a minute. Did you just say I don't talk to my family because they don't have followers?
If they had followers, they'd be here right now.
You talking about your mother?
I mean, my mom has more followers than my sister.
It's your mother. What difference she make? What do you care if she has followers or not? It's your mother.
Can anyone tell me like what I would talk to my mom about if she's not going to be making me
what
relevant?
a fucking idiot.
Yeah, like, hi, Mom.
Now I have a career and I'm famous. Like, that's what happens when you get famous. You cut people off.
Serious?
Seriously?
Everyone's upset with it. Maybe because you guys aren't relevant either, so you don't understand.
What the fuck, man? Like, okay. Okay, I know you guys are asking, hey, okay, Lee, how, you seem like the logical person. You seem like a great woman. How can you relate to this video? The problem is, though, I can't, but I can say for myself that I've never been famous. But there was a point in my life where I wanted to be, where I wanted to get more money. I wanted to have all these grand things like fancy cars and that, I wanted to write my own books. I wanted to earn more money, so that I can get famous and get known. And I guess, every time I went to my former friend's house, his name is Stephen Cunliffe. His name is Stephen. I would go to his house and kind of hang out with his mom because his mom used to write books online, and I would be, me and Steven would make a plan to hang out, and I was not really interested in hanging out. I would push him away. I would kind of and the last straw before he moved was basically, I think, basically, I was talking to his mom, and then he was trying to get my attention. He was saying, Lee, do you like all my DVDs? And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then before you know it, he ended his friendship with me. And looking back, you know, looking back, I did get mad at him for a while because it took me a long time to realize, because I did kind things for him. I used to buy him lunches. I used to buy him, we went to a hockey game together and I bought him a beer. I used to do all these things for him, and I guess I didn't really realize. I guess that was the last thing that was ingrained in my memory, of doing all those kind of things for him. And so it was hard, I kept on asking myself, why did you end your friendship? And then all of a sudden, 4 years later, it just dawned on me that, oh my God, my brain just automatically flipped back, and then I had a flashback to and it was a very vivid memory about what actually happened before he ended our friendship, and it made me feel bad. It crushed me. It crushed me. I'm like, I just couldn't believe that was a person that I was, even though I was an adult. Like, but at that time, I was at a low point in my life where I just wanted to make more money and be somebody, and I kind of pushed the people that I felt were less than ideal out of my life, and that was my former best friend, who was always there for me. We always used to like to have good chats, and I'm not saying that he wasn't a good friend. I'm just saying is that I was at my point in my life where I felt, that nobody else mattered. Now, with that being said, though, I always spoke to my mom and dad, no doubt about it. I always spoke to my mom and dad, but I just didn't feel as appreciative as I do now. And, now looking back, I feel like punching myself in the face. Like I just feel like, what the fuck have you done? And I still look back to this day, even though I was in my early 20s, I feel like, holy cow, that was really me? Like, what the hell? Like, and I still can't get over that. I still can't get over the fact that I was like that. I wanted, that I wanted something. I wanted to be a bigger person. I wanted to have a platform. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. And even though everybody kept saying no, I still believed that I could. And I wasn't as young as this guy was. But still, I was in my early 20s. I should have known better. But again, I was at that lower part of my life where I was in a group home. And I felt less than. I wanted to be at the top. I didn't want to be at the bottom. And I felt like I was at the very bottom of my life. And I pushed everybody who was at the bottom out of my life. I pushed everybody away because, and now looking back at it, I realize now how important that friendship is. I realize now how important, how the value of just friendships, that you don't have to be, you can still be at the bottom of your life. You can still be at the very bottom, but as long as you're at the very bottom and together, as long as you have friends that share your ideals, that share your hobbies, that share your interests, and that together as friends, you could very well make it to the top. You could very well make it to the top. I mean, like, even if you're still at the very bottom, come together. The value of friendship and family is more important and it makes you more at the top than somebody who is rich and famous, you know? And believe me, you know, I do feel stupid whenever I talk about it because I can't believe that that was me, you know? But it was like, but, you know, and going back at this video, it's like, I can't believe other people would do that. I can't believe other people would push everybody away, put their friends on the back burner and just because to get views and followers. I can't imagine having people like that in my life, even though I was once one of them myself, you know? But I'm not anymore. I like that anymore. And then, so I can't imagine hanging around any one of them people in my life because people need to wake up. People need to realize that family and the value of friendship come first. They need to realize that other people come first, especially family. They need to realize that what their family has done for them and the fact that they allowed them to have a house, to have a bed, to have bathing accessories, like shampoo, conditioner, and body wash. They allowed them to eat at their table. They put food on the table for them just to allow them to survive. They had them go to school. They really, the parents really want their children to be the best person that they can be, and they give birth to that child. And they hopefully raise a successful person, not just on the outside, but on the inside as well. You know, they really want that for their child. And that's the way my parents want that for me. So, and I just figured it out on my own. You know, when I started watching YouTube videos of people that are living in other countries that don't have anything, it made me realize that fuck, like, what the hell was I thinking? You know, this was long before even my friend, even before I figured out why my friend ended and why my friend broke up his friendship with me. This was like 4 or 5 years before that. You know, that I realized, and I started to be more appreciative of the people in my life that I still have, you know, and I couldn't imagine myself ever going back to that place in my life because it's disgusting. It made me feel horrible. It makes me feel sick whenever I think about it, you know, and I can't, and even though this video was from like 5 or 6 years ago, I don't know if this guy has changed or not, but you can only change if you want to change. You know, that's the main thing. You can only change a person if they want to change. You know, and that's it. You know. Other than that, if he wants to still continue going on the path that he's going down, then fuck him. You know, he can go fuck himself. You know, but I am not. I'm not going to be hanging around anybody like that, not anymore. Because if I still did, you know, I would have no friends in my life. I wouldn't, and I love to make friends. I'm a very sociable person, and I'm a very nice person at heart. You know? And it's sad because it's, you know, I was once one of those people that pushed everybody away because I wanted to be at the top, you know, and I felt like everybody that was less than I was, get lost, you know, you don't matter, get lost, you know, even if it was somebody that I was really good friends with, you know, and I couldn't imagine myself ever doing that again, you know. I feel disgusted when I think about it. I feel disgusted of myself. I feel disgusted inside. I still feel like that, even though I'm 32 years old. And I was in my early 20s then. I felt, but I think everybody has been like that, been there and done that at some point. But it's the fact that you realize, the fact that you want to realize, and you realize in life that to be more appreciative of what you have versus in what you want and what you wish for, right? I mean, like, I always say to other people now, like, you can be a social media influencer. You can earn more money. You can own your own business, and you can be successful. But you gotta work towards it. You gotta work hard. You gotta go to school. You have to like go to college and take courses, and you gotta work towards that. And you gotta remember that owning a business, and especially being a social media influencer, you gotta like speak to the crowd. You gotta like show people that you care about them. And same with owning a business. I mean, like, if you're not gonna put the customers first, like I always see clothing stores now, like a lot of the boutique clothing stores that locally owned people business own, like locally owned business owners own, like some of the clothing stores are crazy expensive. Like, they're freaking crazy expensive. Like, and I don't find that they really value the customers and the fact that, you know, they don't have money to buy clothes and they might need money. You can still, you know, like, sell like brand new clothing at like a discounted price. Like, there's a store in Ontario, not in all places in Ontario, but because they don't sell in all places in Ontario or all places in Canada even. It's just a locally owned franchise called Giant Tiger, and it's a discount store, and nothing there is over $25. At the most, things are $25, but when they discount it down, it's like $12 or $10 or $5 or something. Like, nothing there is over $25. And the most it's ever been is at 25. No over, just under. And trust me, those clothing are very nice, very, very, very nice clothing. You know, they look, when people buy them, they look just as good as everybody else who buys like from Claire's and name brand stores and you know, they look just as good as anybody else does. You know, and nobody gets questioned about it because they don't know any different. Nobody knows if it's $100 pair of shoes or you know, or $90 pairs of pants. You know, nobody knows because it doesn't look like the person. It looks just like everybody else who wears expensive clothing, and nobody questions it. Like, I went to school with those clothing and nobody questioned it. I look just like everybody else who wear name brand clothing. You know? I look just like everybody else who shops at like the mall and spends ridiculous amounts of money. You know, I look just like everybody else and nobody ever questioned it. So it's like, I don't need to spend like thousands and thousands of dollars on like these really expensive places when I can dress just like everybody else does. And I can look just like everybody else who buys at those places. You know? So, yeah, you can be a social media influencer. You can be like a designer clothing person. But you have to remember not to be so stuck up. Like, not to be so like in tune with yourself. You know, you gotta be like somebody that those people can look up to, that people won't want to buy from, the people that say that, oh, I want to be like her, you know? But it's all in how you present yourself. And I don't find that any of these social media influencers, you know, back then, however long this video was, were really, you know, they should have never been influencers in the first place. They should have been permanently kicked off Instagram and YouTube, right? It should have been permanently kicked off, you know? And that's that. People like that should not have an Instagram account or a YouTube account. You know, people like that should not be online because they are influencing bad behavior, and that's how people get into trouble. It's because they copy people like that, and I don't think that's right. And it's not fair, it's not right, and I can tell you, I'm not like that anymore. I'm not like that anymore. I'm not that type of person anymore, and I can't imagine myself ever being that. Ever going back to being the person I once was, or I once thought I could be. That I realize now that I was stupid for ever thinking that way, you know? Because, you know, I realize now that the way I went about it was wrong, it was stupid, and I would never, ever, I can't ever imagine going back to that time in my life. If I can go back to a time, you know, if I can go through a time machine, I would make it right. You know, me and Steven could have been friends right now. You know, could have been still friends, could have been talking on the phone every day. If I went back in time, I would have just fixed everything. But you know, I can't do that. You know, and I can't just fix the damage that have been done, and all I can do now is, you know that it was 100% wrong, and maybe make other friends that I can hang around with. And, you know, if he doesn't want to be my friend, and if he doesn't want to come back, that's his choice. You know, I'm not forcing him to do that, because looking back, I probably wouldn't want to be friends with myself either. I wouldn't probably want to be friends with myself either. And, you know, rightfully I shouldn't be. So if I don't want to make friends with myself, what makes you think other people wouldn't want to make friends with me? If I'm treating them like crap, if I'm pushing them out of my life, just because I want to make more money, and I thought I could be more grand and more up here, that other people that belong down here just get shoved out of the way. You know, what makes you think that anybody want to be friends with somebody like that? No one. I can tell you, no one. Not many people would, and rightfully you shouldn't either. It's just wrong and it's stupid. And like I said, I was wrong and I was stupid, you know? And I realize now that I was a completely selfish, ignorant bitch at one point. And all I can say now is that I am very, very, very sorry to him for the way that I treated him. And, you know, I really do hate myself for it. You know, I wasn't being a good friend in the end. And if I can make it right, even if we can't be friends anymore, if I can make it right and I can go to him and apologize, I probably would give him my sincere apology and say, yeah, I was stupid and I was ignorant. And, you know, at that time, you know, I felt like I could have been like someone were grander and you were at the bottom, and I pushed you out of the way. And that wasn't right. It wasn't very nice of me to do that. And, you know, if I could say something to him, whether he believes me or not, it's different. And whether anybody else does or not, it's debatable, because, you know, Pretty sure that guy, if he's not that way anymore, I'm pretty sure people would have a hard time believing his apology too. You know, whether he did apologize or not. But even then, you know, I probably still wouldn't accept it. Because, don't get me wrong, pushing people out of your life is not okay. No matter how famous you are. Pushing people out of your life is not okay. And I probably wouldn't accept that apology either if that was done to me. You know? And I couldn't imagine not talking to my family because I feel like they aren't irrelevant. My mom doesn't like to be on social media. She hates being on social media. I love being on social media all the time. I absolutely love it. I love being on front of the camera. I love it when I make videos. I love posting things on Instagram and YouTube and that. And I love to get more followers, and I love it when people comment, you know, and say nice things, you know. That being said, though, I would never, ever, ever just ignore the fact, or tell my mom that, oh, sorry, Mom, I'm not going to come visit you. And, you know what, Dad, just shut up. Just shut the F up. You know, you don't have any followers, so just don't even talk to me, because I won't be talking to you, and neither do you, Mom. You don't matter because you don't have any followers, you know? I would never do that to my parents. I would never, ever, ever do that, because that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter to me, you know? And it never happened like that. I never have been like that towards my parents. Not even when I was, you know, like I said, pushing my friends out of the way. I still communicated with my parents. I still loved my parents. They were still irrelevant to me, you know. I love them. And I always will, and I always have. You know. I loved my family, and I always have, and I always will love them. You know. So, yeah. It's just not something that, you know, I can never see myself going back to again. And, you know, it's just not, it's not something that I can see myself ever being again. Ever in my life. You know? And I just hope that one day, maybe other people would see the video and realize that they're silly as well for even thinking that, you know? I just want people to realize that, you know, what they're missing out on and what they're pushing away, because money in that can always be spent, but the friends and people that were there for you, you know, you can never get that back. You can never get that back again. Once you have betrayed your friends and you betrayed them so much, you can never get that back. You know? Like, you hurt people that way. You can never get it back. You can never just take it back. No matter how hard you try. Right? You can never, ever just take it back. You know? You can apologize and make it right, but that doesn't erase the amount of pain and the amount of betrayal that you did to them. You know? And I know that Stephen will think the same way. You know, I can always apologize and make it right, but that doesn't mean that it'll fix everything that I've done. That doesn't mean that it would erase the amount of damage and the amount of betrayal that I have done to him. You know? And, yeah, all I can do now is focus on myself and bettering myself and making myself a better person. And, you know, just not repeating the same choices in the future that I did in the past. Because what the past is the past. Right? All we can do now is better ourselves and learn that that's not okay behavior, and know that that is stupid to ever even think like that, you know?